So, scientists recently studied a new 7-day retreat of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and they measured the participants before and after with brain scans and blood tests. And what happened inside their brain and inside their body was so dramatic that the researchers called it rare and unexpected. So the real question here is, what happened? And how can so much change happen in just 1 week? And what could you do to create the same kind of transformation? But before we dive right into the study, here's what the scientists actually measured. So what happened? The scientists scanned the brains of 20 healthy participants before the retreat started. And they took a sample of their blood before and after the retreat. And in total, the group that was studied did 33 hours of guided meditations, 25 hours of teachings, and several hours of healing practices. And this let the researchers see exactly what changed in the body and the mind and how fast. Now, of course, I must say this was not a perfect study. The group was small, 1,444 people attended, and only 20 healthy people got measured by brain scans and by the blood tests. So there was no control group, which means there was no second group of people who did nothing for comparison. So we cannot say with complete certainty that every change only came from this retreat. And the results do also not mean everyone will get the same effect. But even with these limitations, the brain and body still changed in ways the researchers did not expect. So the question is, what? What actually changed inside these selected people during those 7 days? Because when the scientists compared the brain scans and the blood tests from before and after the retreat, they saw 6 powerful changes inside their bodies. And these shifts helps explain why meditation can have such a deep effect on how you think, how you feel, and how you function. So let's dive into these 6 shifts first. And number 1 is the following. The brain quiets its stress circuits. So scientists saw that the parts of the brain linked to stress and mental noise became less active after the meditation retreat by those measured people. This means your mind stops fighting your thoughts and you begin to feel more space inside. And then we have number 2, and that is the brain became more connected and worked better. So the networks in the brain started communicating more smoothly and more efficient. And this means your mind becomes clearer and it's easier to think, focus, and make sense of things where you're working on. We have known for years that practices like meditation can influence health. But what's striking is that combining multiple mind-body practices into a single retreat produced changes across so many biological systems that we could measure directly in the brain and blood. Then we move into number 3. The body shifted out of stress mode and into a repair mode. And the blood showed signs that the body was moving into a calmer, healing state. This means you stop running on stress and start feeling more alive, more steady, and more balanced. And that's really, really powerful, right? And if you want more studies like this and you want to stay up to date to heal and to manifest everything you want, then don't forget to subscribe and see our next videos. Now, then we have number 4. Emotional patterns begin to settle. The biology connected to emotional reactivity became softer and more balanced. And there were more balanced inflammatory signals. And this means the inner storm quiets down and the body finally lets go of stored tension, what is really important during the day. And then we have number 5. The body increased its natural safety and had more comfortable signals. So researchers found that the body increased its own natural calming signals and pain easing responses. This means your body feels safer and stops reacting to life as if everything is a threat. And then we have shift number 6. The whole mind and whole body became more synchronized. Brain activity and body signals moved into a more unified rhythm. And this means your mind and body stop pulling in different directions and begin working as one system again. And this is similar to brain-heart coherence patterns where decisions feel aligned with who you really are. And this is an absolute game changer for most people because you make much better decisions that are aligned with who you are. And Before we dive deeper, I want to mention something that can help you feel these shifts even faster. It's called a Mindmovie. And it's like a vision board that moves. You combine videos, you combine words and music that represents the future you want to live. When you watch it, your brain begins to rehearse that future automatically. And I will leave a link down below in the description so you can look at it. It is one of my favorite tools to support this work. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at an important quote from this study from Dr. Patel. Seeing both central nervous system changes in brain scans and systematic changes in blood chemistry underscores that these mind-body practices are acting on a whole body scale. To really understand what this study means for you and me, there are a few more layers that make the whole picture much clearer. And the first layer is this. And here is something beautiful about this study. It was done by independent university scientists. And it was one of the first studies to measure both the brains by brain scans and the body with blood tests at the same time. And this is why the researchers called the results rare and unexpected. And this moves us to layer 2, because this part connects the study to what actually happens in real life when people meditate. So in my last video where I studied 56 Dr. Joe Dispenza's testimonials, I found out that many people had huge breakthroughs after a couple of months or even years of practice. And someone responded in the comment section and said the following. Listening to the story that others had to meditate for a year or 1.5 years until something happened will scare people. You actually don't need to meditate for that long to see huge results. I promise you. The more you have these preconceptions, the worse it is. And to be honest, he is totally right. You do not need years, because this new study shows that real change can happen in only 7 days. And many of the people who changed were beginners in the study. So that's incredibly motivating for you and me, right? But we also need to stay honest and objective here. And this is where layer 3 begins to make sense, because it explains why so many people struggle with meditation. And on average, this is very different from what most people do during the week, right? So here's what that means for someone doing 1 hour a day. It would take around 2 months to complete the same amount of inner work they did in 1 week. And of course, this is just the analytical mind trying to understand and trying to rationalize it. But I don't want you to meditate for 7 days straight and then stop because you think nothing is happening. And on the other hand, I do not want to scare you into thinking you must meditate for 5 hours a day. My point is this: you don't need extreme hours to change. But you also should know that and not expect instant results, because real inner work takes consistency of doing the work. That's my experience. But if you stay in the game, and that's the most important, it will come. Because here's the truth. Most people never reach these 6 shifts. Not because they cannot, but because they run into the same problems I did years ago and almost quit. So I want to be straight here, because here's what I see again and again. People start meditating and they want results. And that's logical, right? And when the expectations do not match their experience, they lose focus. They get frustrated. Why it's not working for me? And they give up way too soon. And that's exactly where the real problem begins. Because deeper change does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes the old emotions rise before the new patterns arrive. And that's totally fine. That's totally normal. It means something is shifting right inside your body, right inside your mind. And the reason I know this so well is because I made the same mistakes myself. I meditated for 2 years and almost nothing changed. Not because meditation does not work, not because I failed, but because I unknowingly made 5 common mistakes. And when I look back now, that blocked my entire process. And these are the same mistakes that stop most people from ever reaching the 6 shifts the scientists found out in this study. And the surprising thing is this: once you understand and be aware of these mistakes, everything starts to make sense. So if you want to avoid the frustration I had, and you want your meditation to actually work, I recorded a separate video which you can watch here, where I explain all 5 mistakes in detail, step by step. so you do not have to go through what I did. So let me know in the comments below and tell me this. Do you feel meditation has already changed something in your life? Even something small. So I read every comment and it will absolutely inspire other people too. So that's it for today, guys. Love you all and see you in the next video. And don't forget to stay in the game. Till the next one.